My dad was God in our home. He had the last say about everything. Like when I wanted to wear blue eyeshadow in the 7th grade, Mom said, go ask your dad. Anybody relate? But Daddy was my hero. He was out in the world working really hard, trying to be the best for our family. So at a very young age, I decided I'm going to be just like my daddy. I began to work really hard in school to be the best, to get the best grades, to win every award that I could get. But no matter how much I won, I never felt fulfilled, and I never felt loved. Yeah? So I'd work that much harder, trying to prove my worth. My life became a hamster wheel of competition, stress, and struggle. Can anybody relate? Yeah. Well, thankfully, in the second semester of my sophomore year of college, I'm talking on the phone to my friend about how much I don't want to go back to school. He says, so don't go. I said, well, I have to. And then he asked, says who? An intuitive knowingness washed over my body. And I knew I had to leave school. So I did. I stepped off of the hamster's wheel and stepped into a divine flow. My apartment rented without any effort. I moved home, got a job, and within about a month or two, I decided on an intuitive whim, I'm going to try out for Miss Arkansas. And I won. 2 weeks later, guys, 2 weeks, not 2 months, 2 weeks later, I'm sent to Miss USA. So you can only imagine how surprised I am when I make it to the top 12. So that's when Bob Barker asked me, so what do you do in Cabot, Arkansas on a Saturday night? I said in my very southern drawl, well, Bob, in the winter we stay at home, but in the summer we go downtown to the Tasty Freeze. We sit on the back of my friend's truck. He plays the banjo, and the guys, well, they drink a little beer and dip a little skull. It's a real good time. And I won. I won. So why didn't I feel loved and fulfilled? Why? There was one amazing gift from that experience. A seed was planted that said, when you listen to your heart and stand in your truth, miracles showed up. I listened to my heart and left school. I stood in my truth in that top 12 interview, and a miracle showed up. But it would take a long time for that seed to take hold, because I got right back on that hamster wheel trying to prove my worth in the television industry. And then, especially as a wife and mom, I wanted to be the best for my family. I wanted them to feel more love than I felt. So I would suppress myself and put on my happy face mask and then all of a sudden blow up. Anybody ever done that as a mom, dad? They just like suppress you. Yeah. I couldn't stand myself. I hated who I was. I didn't want to do this to my family. I knew I had to change. That change came when I decided to heal. My dad died, and I got into therapy, and I began to realize that maybe my dad's way was not the most loving way. So thankfully, my therapist said, you are wound really tight. You've got to get into meditation. I am so glad I listened. Not only did I begin to study meditation, but I also studied energy and intuitive healing. And what was so cool is I started discovering gifts that I didn't know I had because I was healing myself. It was so cool. And what was even cooler was that my family started healing. We became more peaceful and loving because I was shifting. I started to understand that my outer world is a mirror to my inner world, and that when I heal, the world around me heals. Take that in. When I heal, the world around me heals. I was on fire. I wanted to know more. So I committed to loving myself unconditionally. I'll never forget the day I'm lying on the floor, meditating on unconditional love, when all of a sudden, little Terri, the little 5-year-old inside of me, shows up. And I realize, as I'm crying and crying and crying, that I have never acknowledged this little girl. I've never loved her. It's as if I've been putting her in a dark closet, telling her, you don't matter. You're not worthy of being loved. And then, get this, I hear very clearly in my ear, get up and write this, Terri. This is the beginning of your book. So for the next year, every time I reacted negatively to my outer world, I knew it was a gift to go within and heal. I'd ask little Terri, what's hurting? What's those hidden beliefs that's causing you to suffer? And what can I do to love you? And the more I love myself this way, wow. I became the divine mother to that little girl. I gave her permission to be who she is. I acted upon the messages, and I felt seen, heard, and valued. I finally felt loved because I was loving myself. That year, writing Message Sent was a game changer. I got grounded in the belief that when I love myself and lead with love, miracles show up. That seed that had been planted when I was Miss USA had finally taken hold. For over 20 years now, I've been coaching women to love themselves and lead with love, because what I know for sure is that my dad's way is not the loving way. You see, when we drive ourselves so hard trying to be the best, what we're actually doing is abandoning that little kid inside of us. We're telling her that you don't matter. We're sending a message that says, I am not worthy of being loved and supported. And because energy always attracts similar energy, life feels hard. When we abandon ourselves, we are punishing ourselves. Think of it this way. Living on the hamster wheel is poverty consciousness. But when you choose to love yourself and lead with love, you choose prosperity consciousness because you are putting God first. God is love. When you honor and love the way you were created, you align with God, you send a message to the universe that says, I am enough and I am worthy of being loved simply for being me. Yes! Yes! And that is when life gets good. Oh my goodness. I have to tell you, a couple of years ago, it's been more than that, but I had my hubby, Charlie, listen to a meditation on poverty consciousness versus prosperity consciousness. Now, we have a coffee roasting business, and he had been watching me lead with love, had been learning to love himself, but he was still driving himself really hard. So he comes out of the meditation and he goes, I'm in poverty consciousness. I said, of course, I'm curious. Why? He said, I want wholesale business, but I don't want to be on the road anymore. I'm tired. I want to be at home with you and the dogs. I'm done. And you know what happened? Wholesale business came flooding in. It was crazy, you guys. Charlie loved himself, led with love, aligned with God, and the universe says, you want to experience love? Okay, here it comes. And it came flooding in and continues to this day. So what do you choose? Poverty consciousness or prosperity consciousness? Living on a hamster wheel or leading with love? Leading with love is the kinder, gentler way. When we women come together and commit to loving ourselves unconditionally, when we own our worth and say yes to who we are, we align with God and create lives of peace, passion, playfulness, balance, fulfillment, joy, and abundance. We become thriving examples for our families and the world around us. So I want to invite every one of you today, please commit to loving yourselves unconditionally. Take a stand for putting God first. Be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you.